Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation TV with your host, Jeff Charles. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has declared on more than one occasion that when the GOP retakes the House, they would be stripping Democratic lawmakers of their committee assignments. This move would be retaliation for the Democrats' decision to violate tradition and strip Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar of their committee assignments for making controversial remarks. But what does this mean for the future of Congress? I have with me a Liberty Nation's David Patterson to discuss the issue. Thanks for joining the program.
Thank you, Jeff. Glad to be with you.
Awesome. So let's dig into this. Before we get into the questions, can you kind of just give us a rundown on how this whole thing came about in the first place?
Sure. During the Democrats' holding of the House, Nancy Pelosi made sure that the House committee assignments were vetted by her. And so this is something that has not happened in the past. And as you mentioned, there were a couple of congressmen who were stripped of their committee assignments, and this is unprecedented. What normally happens is that if you lose a particular chamber, at least the minority lead gets to choose who they put on the committees. And that has been a tradition until now.
So do you think that, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar, do you think that they actually deserve to lose their committee assignments? I mean, was what they said that bad to where they should be stripped by Democrats, or what do you think?
No, I think that their comments and their tweets have been what I believe William Safire would say as not artful, but nonetheless not deserving of being stripped from their committee assignments, especially by the majority, which, as I mentioned, is unprecedented.
Mm-hmm. And, I usually try to apply my principles consistently, whether it's Republican or Democrat. But when it comes to the Democrats that are at issue here, Representative Ilhan Omar, Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, I think a better case could be made. I mean, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, her comments were made before she ever took office. Ilhan Omar is known for making anti-Semitic comments even after she was in office. Eric Swalwell could have been compromised by a Chinese spy. Adam Schiff spent the past 4 years lying to the American public about Russia collusion. So do you think that maybe they might have a better reason to lose their seats, or do you still think that maybe they should keep theirs as well?
Well, I think that you've made an excellent case for them being removed from their seats. But nonetheless, for example, I want to make it clear that when the majority changes, that the chairmanships of the committees, they're expected to go. I mean, they don't get to keep their chairmanship. The issue has been and is now about the actual membership on the committees. And I believe that Minority Leader McCarthy has every right to provide as good as they've gotten. So I think that this makes perfectly good sense. I mean, oh my goodness, why in the world would you have Adam Schiff on an Intel committee or Eric Swalwell on an Intel committee where they're exposed to the most, sensitive of the United States secrets? I mean, let's face it, you wouldn't trust them with anything marked higher than interesting.
Yeah, no, not at all, especially if they're going to lie about it like Schiff did. But here's my thing. I mean, and I want Kevin McCarthy to do this, not because I like that it has to be done, but to me, the only chance that might give Democrats pause next time they decide to do something like this is if they know that it can happen to them. Mutually assured destruction doesn't guarantee that they'll stop, but doing nothing guarantees that they'll keep going with this. So here's my other question. As far as McCarthy goes, if he actually does this, do you think this is a good political move for him and for the GOP, or do you think?
Absolutely. And this is exactly what should happen. As you say, the Democrats should realize that Republicans come to the stage going to give as good as they've gotten. And so that would give them, one would think, pause to be a little bit more adult in how they react and how they behave when, heaven forfend, they should get the majority back.
Right, exactly. And it's looking like that's what's going to happen, that the GOP is going to at least retake the House. But here's the most important question. I mean, you've been a Republican for a while. I've been a conservative for a while. So we see how the Republican Party moves. We see them when they talk a big game, and then when they get into that position, sometimes it's a different story. So do you think that McCarthy and the Republicans in Congress will actually follow through on this, or do you think this might just be empty bluster, or what do you think?
Well, I would hope that it's not empty bluster. And as we just spoke a minute ago, Democrats come to knife fights actually carrying knives. Republicans go to lunch. One would hope that that is a thing of the past and that the Republicans will stand their ground and be accounted for this time. And I think they will. I think that the amount of guff they've taken in this last congressional session has prompted them, not just McCarthy, but the Republicans en masse to stand up and be counted. And we certainly hope they will. I mean, you don't want to be vindictive and ugly and mean, but at the same time, you have to stand up and be counted because you have a representation and a constituency to be thinking about, and they didn't put you there to be wilting violets.
Yeah, I mean, you know what they say, the only way to stop a bully is to fight back. Whether you win or lose, you got to fight back because bullies like easy prey. And I think in the Trump era and in the post-Trump era, squishy Republicans aren't going to cut it anymore. We need people who are going to fight in there. So I think I agree with you. I think they probably will do this. But either way, we're probably going to find out in about a year or so. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. And I want to thank you very much for joining the program, Dave Patterson.
Thank you, Jeff. Happy to be with you.
Thank you. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, where truth is making a comeback.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
The tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.